so we've got a new thing on the bench here. I was going to borrow this angle grinder from a friend, and I noticed there was a bit of a problem which kind of made me a little bit worried. We have got cut the lead. Bit of a bad habit of his, cutting the leads all the time, and he's just taped it up. So I'm going to repair it because I don't want to leave it like that. And I'll show you guys how to repair the lead on your power tools. It's actually really easy to do. First of all, we've got to take the end off. So on this one, we've got a screw just here. Let's get that out. And that cover should come off. So it depends on your device. Like the cover, the whole section might come off this way, or it may be like a little window like this one. Different designs. So you just have to see how yours comes apart and then get yourself inside. So once we're inside, we can see here, it looks like we've got a connector. I'll just undo that to get it out of the way. Alright, and there's our power switch. It's all full of dust. That's alright. So it looks like what we're going to have to do is we need a ring terminal or an eye terminal or whatever you want to call it to go onto the switch, and the other one comes straight into this plug here. So what I'm going to do, this one for the plug, I don't have any of those crimps, and I'm going to have to buy a whole bag of them. So I'm going to cut this, I'm going to solder it and heat shrink it for the white wire, and for the black one we'll put a new crimp on there, screw it on, and we should be done. So I'll get rid of this here, this strain relief. Alright, so that's going to let us pull the wire out. So that's, put that one aside, that's got to remember to put that on. And then that's our assembly there. So we've got a, looks like a bit of a power factor correction capacitor there or something. And that's our input to our motor. So all we've got to do is we'll cut that white wire. I'll just snip it back here somewhere. We'll solder and heat shrink that one, and then this one, I'll see if I've got a crimp lug to replace that one. Now this sort of terminal, you want to make sure that you use an eye lug, because a fork style, it won't screw down. It will screw down and it will work, but it's got a chance where as you tighten it down, the forks can spread and it'll come loose, or if it does come loose, it'll just flop straight out. You won't be retained in position, which can be a little bit of a problem. So try and use the eye type or the ring type, like that, and you'll be no worries. Alright, so I'll fire up the, I'll get all this stuff out of the way, and I'll tidy this up, but I'll fire up the soldering iron and I'll get my parts. I'll be back in a sec. Alright, to start with, I'll connect the white wires together and to splice them together with some heat shrink. Make sure you put your boot on to start with, eh? It's going to be a big pain if you forget. That's like an apprentice rookie mistake. Make sure you put it on the right way around as well. Put that on first, then you won't have to undo all of your work just to put that back on because you forgot it. Also, we'll have a look at how long the old wire was inside. Don't want to make it too much longer because you might be a bit limited with space. You might have a bit of a nightmare trying to get a lot longer wire to fit into the small little space you got in here. So we want it about that long. What's that, 2 inches or so? So I'll just chop this one down a little bit. And then all we've got to do is splice those together. Also, don't forget to put your heat shrink on, because that will be a bit of a pain if you forget that as well. So get my heat shrink, and I might go for a piece like that. Stick that on there, and then twist these together. Then it's a matter of applying heat and molten metal. Just like that. We can slide our heat shrink across. Make sure we're kind of somewhere in the middle. Then we get our little heat source. This is just using a cigarette lighter in this holder. It's pretty convenient actually. So a matter of heat shrinking that stuff down. And there's one side done. So all I've got to do is grab myself a crimp lug. We'll crimp that and we're nearly done. So I had a look through the junk pile and I couldn't actually find any of the insulated style crimps, but that's no big deal. I've got a uninsulated style here, which is exactly the same size as what they've used here, just it doesn't have the bit of plastic on the end. That's no problem because I've got the correct crimper for that. You can see it's got these the crimp sits down in those holes, and then the pin side here pushes down and crimps it. One thing to note is I can't actually use this crimper on these crimps, because if I do that, that pin will actually damage the insulation. It's a different type of crimper. It's more like a cup sort of shape that presses like this. I don't actually have one here to show you because I've left it back in another country, back in Australia, so that'll be sent soon. But I've got the correct crimp, so make sure you use the correct crimp to or correct crimper with the correct crimp. You can't use the ones for these, the crimper that is used on these crimps, on your uninsulated terminals, because they won't crimp down properly, because their size to take into account the extra thickness of the plastic. And you also can't use these, like I said, for the insulated crimps, because it will damage the insulation and it won't crimp properly as well. So make sure you match up your crimp with the crimper, and also whatever terminal they use. These have got the ring terminals. You may have ones where it doesn't have the exposed bit of copper here, or I suppose a bit of brass. It might go inside, and there'll be a captive screw, and they might use a fork terminal with the two pieces like that, not a ring. Or they might use a bootlace or a ferrule. So just match up with whatever they've already used. That way you know it's going to work properly. So let's put this crimp on. I'll get some heat shrink first. I'll just chop that down a bit. So by using that heat shrink, I'm going to just end up with the same kind of effect that this bit of plastic here has. Okay, there's one thing to be aware of when using these crimps. You can see there's a seam there, straight down the middle of that little tube section. That's where they've actually bent the flat plate. They stamped these crimps out of a piece of flat sheet metal, and they bend the two tabs around to make the tube shape there. So when you're using the crimper's got a cup side and a pin side. You don't want the pin side to be pressing on here, because it can potentially spread those two tabs out and you're going to have a loose, bad crimp. You want to have the pin sticking onto this side. So I'll bring the crimper up and you have a look. So you can see here, there's a pin and then a cup, and then there's a pin and a cup. See, the cup on the smallest one is on the top. So this crimp will go inside like that, with the back of the crimp towards the pin. That way that cup will hold those two tabs closed, and the pin can push in and it won't spread anything apart. So you want to put them in that way, not that way. Alrighty, there's our crimp, all nice and tight. I'll just get that heat shrink up there. And it's just a matter of screw it on there. Just like that. Beautiful. Alright, now we just get to try and fit it all back inside the machine. That goes in there. Just like that, we are done. Plug it in, close your eyes and see if it doesn't blow up. Perfect. That's how you fix your busted leads. We'll see you next time.